ago, I was in conversation with a pastor from El Salvador, and in our conversation he was describing the realities of El Salvador in the 1980s, when the military junta was ruling society and people were disappeared and assassinated, kidnapped, and so on. And we came up with a question. And the question is, how can we have hope in the midst of the current realities? And so the song came out of that conversation, how to ignite the fire of hope. That's the question. And it's good to sing questions, not just give answers, but to actually offer the questions that connect deeply with the times. And this is one of those questions. So I'll sing it once through and then join me in the singing en español. Como encender el fuego de la esperanza. Would you repeat after me? Como encender el fuego de la esperanza. How to ignite the fire of hope. Como encender el fuego de la esperanza. 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 Hope of all the world, hope of all the world, hope of all the world, hope of all the world. Como encender el fuego de la esperanza. Como encender el fuego de la esperanza. Light of Christ in the midst of deepest darkness. Light of Christ in the midst of deepest darkness. Como encender el fuego de la esperanza. Como encender el fuego de la esperanza. tonight we would hear the words of St. John's Gospel and apply it to today. So, Tim, if you would, please.
Okay. From John 1, 4 and 5. And the Word was light, and that light was humanity's light, a light that shines in the darkness, a light that the darkness has never overtaken.
Would you read from the very beginning up to that point? So
In
the very
beginning?
beginning of the Gospel where it says...
Yeah, in the beginning? Try to do my best William voice here.
No.
Oh, all right.
Be yourself.
In the beginning, there was the Word. The Word was in God's presence, and the Word was God. The Word was present to God from the beginning. Through the Word, all things came into being, and apart from the Word, nothing came into being that has come into being. In the Word was life, and that life was humanity's light, a light that shines in the darkness, a light that the darkness has never overtaken.
That's it. And then it goes on to speak about how the Word became flesh and pitched its tent among us for a while. That's one way to say it. And it goes on to speak about that Word very clearly later on as Jesus of Nazareth. This is the impossible possibility of the gospel. That while many people regard Jesus as just another good person, a good man, even a prophet, a good teacher, but according to John, and you can do with this what you will, this is from the man who knew him. Jesus was the divine one and the human one, which is the impossible possibility. So for John, Jesus, the Word, was the light of this world, uniquely so. So we cannot claim that. Some people like to claim that. Say, oh, I can do everything Jesus did. I can be Jesus. No, sorry. It never has happened, and it never will. But Jesus was unique, and he claimed things that no other person, not even the Buddha, claimed. And then he died. And then, according to John, he's back, to quote a famous movie. I'm back, which no other good religious teacher has ever done or claimed to do, but Jesus did. And that's the uniqueness of the Christian gospel. Okay? Do with it what you want. It's not popular today to believe in such miracles, such miraculous, such uniqueness, because we all want to be special. But that's what the earliest recorded witnesses testified to Jesus. And so, if that's true, then Jesus, the risen Jesus, the cosmic Christ, as sometimes he's called, is present in this world, this day, forever. Whatever happens in this world, nobody knows. But that same Jesus who was crucified, risen from the dead, is somehow in his spirit present among us. So I'd like to ask the question, if that's the case, where do you see the Word, as John calls it? I like to call it the song. In the beginning was the song, and the song was with God, and the song was God. And the song became flesh. Because to me, that's what Jesus was, the music of God, just uniquely so. And so, if that's the case, where is this song being sung today? Even without acknowledging that it's Jesus. Because he doesn't really care. He's just going to do what he does. And if you see him, that's great. And if you give thanks to God for Jesus Christ, that's great. But Jesus isn't dependent upon us recognizing him. He just keeps doing what he does. So, where do you see the risen Christ at work today, at play today? Remember the poem that says, Christ plays in 10,000 places, lovely in limbs, and lovely in eyes not his. That's the risen Jesus. So where is this risen Jesus today? And how do you know?
I see it in the monks walking and all the amazing protesters in Minneapolis. And I feel like his spirit inspires people to do those kind of crazy good things in spite of coal, guns, you know. But what would motivate me? I don't know. But he motivates people. That's where I see him in action today.
So in the monks walking 2,000 miles. Yeah.
I heard this on YouTube and it resonated really well with me. Someone said that we are not these fleshly, earthly beings, but we are music eternally floating within the universe. And with that being said, I see God, I see Jesus as everything. It could be, taking it from the less romantic side, it could be like your dog pooping, you know?
Wait a minute, I draw the line there.
It's like those
Just
just
kidding.
moments of the clouds, the crunch of the snow,
Right.
and when you sing a melody and you feel that it's all around you, you encompass this music, the song that you speak of. It's the melody that's always within us.
If that's the case, I believe it is, then are we not drunk in the vision of this cosmic Christ? Because if we look everywhere and we see the risen Jesus, the cosmic Christ, isn't that a deliriously happy way to live?
Yes.
All for it.
Tim's all for it.
Yeah. Yeah, any burst of joy or goodness, you know. Marie's happiness when she brings over a catering dish. I mean, you just see her shining. She's so happy to be doing that. The song, yeah.
Any other thoughts? We all remember the comedian Robin Williams. To me, he was a Christ figure. As Rich can tell us, great humor, improv, comedy, comes out of great suffering as well. Robin Williams was a great example of that. He suffered terribly in his life. And somehow he transformed that suffering into smiles and laughter, and I would say compassion. If you note a lot of his humor, it's very often aimed at people who hurt other people. The religious authorities, the political authorities, who basically don't give a took, about the people they claim to govern. He targeted them with such power. And in his making fun, somehow he gave the people that were suffering hope. laughter, joy in the midst of it by making them appear as they are, ridiculous. The other place I see the risen Jesus, especially today, and this goes along with the idea that great joy, the kind that brings tears to your eyes, is often linked to deep suffering. So that in Minneapolis today, when I see the thousands and thousands of people coming together, singing together, this is a huge part of the resistance movement, by the way. They're singing together on the streets, in the churches, everywhere. They're singing. I see Christ there, on the streets, in the churches, wherever the people are. And one of the beautiful Christ-like responses toward ICE is now these thousands of people singing to ICE. And they're saying, lay down your weapons, come join us. You don't want to be a part of what you're doing, really. They're singing these words to ICE. And I don't know how many ICE are, following their lead, but they're being presented with a very Christ-like opportunity, to stop hurting people, stop separating families, stop hating, stop harming people, and jump on board, this Christ-like peace train that more and more people in Minneapolis are singing about, living. They're helping their neighbors. They're providing food. They're paying each other's rent. No kidding. This is Jesus. This is the risen Jesus. This is Christ, the Christ of compassion. So it's a very, very beautiful thing we're witnessing. It's that moment that just brings tears to my eyes to see it. There's your toy, there's your bone, and you choose to destroy the rug. I don't understand you. Any other thoughts?
I really like how you put that. The connection between joy and suffering, because that kind of seems as the foundation typically begins in suffering, and joy is achieved. This is just how I conceptualized it when you were talking. It's suffering is the base, and then with this overcoming and this entrance into elation and this gradual realization of hope. That's where, and it might just be like a microcosm of that realization of hope in the suffering, and that's where joy forms a tear in the crook of our eye. It might just be for a moment. But yeah, we've kind of danced with this too a couple of nights, but it's like we won't ever know what satiation is unless we've been starved, or if we've been so thirsty, we will not have the gratitude, like a true gratitude for what water can do to someone. And we live I live my day-to-day life in kind of that middle place where taking things for granted is easy. It's just the way it is. But it's when we have these situations happen that we can take a step back and recognize exactly what gratitude actually is, or what joy actually is. But we can't have joy without having tasted suffering.
Mhm.
I don't believe. So they all kind of do. The duality is not really duality. It's all part of the same thing.
Sorry, Rich.
That's all right.
I don't know what
Yeah.
happened there. Yeah, for sure. It's interesting, isn't it? When Jesus encountered people, he basically said to them, what do you want? What do you really want? And people gave different responses. Like some people, it's implied, said, I don't want anything. I don't need anything. I have everything I need. And he said, okay, cool. And moved on. But those people who said to him, when he basically asked the question, they said, I'm suffering. I need help. Those are the ones he responded
Mhm.
to. He didn't respond well, anyway, to the religious leaders who said, look, we don't need anything. We got everything. We're quite content, thank you very much. He couldn't do much. And even, the crowds of people, it's recorded, when certain cities he went to, in his walk for peace, he couldn't do much in some places. It said, because they weren't interested. They were content. And that's where contentment becomes complacency. I believe. It's kind of like, oh my.
It's a good place for one spirit to wither.
Yeah,
Complacency.
yeah. So Jesus, in his walk for peace, I'm imagining that more and more, that's what he was doing. He responded deeply to people who responded deeply to him.
Yeah.
Who saw their need. And at one point he said, that's why I'm here. It's like a doctor that is here to offer some remedy, some help, some balm, some medicine. And that's what he did. But a lot of it was dependent upon the people that he encountered. And I don't think that's any different today.
When the suffering becomes great enough and the only option is to humble oneself and ask from that deepest place for help.
Yeah.
You know my story. And that's definitely a piece of it.
Yeah. And sometimes we're not aware of our need. I wasn't aware of my own need for 30 years. When your father dies at the age of 13 and you stuff the emotions down for 30 years, you're not aware of your need. Consciously. But unconsciously, below that surface of everything's fine, I'm cool, there's this brewing, this churning going on. And at some point, hopefully, the dam breaks or the door opens, however you want to see it. In my case, it was a dam breaking. And the tears just poured out. In the midst of 3,000 young people in Tizay, which wasn't my plan. But it's like that, I find, that there's so much unconscious in us that is in need of help and healing. And hopefully nobody has to deal with 30 years of it, but in my case I did. But it's not over. It's not a one-off thing. There are moments when I catch myself, like, why am I tearing up now? When I hear that poem, why do I feel both sadness and joy? What is that? What's going on? I may not be able to answer that clearly, but something is going on. And I think that indicates that I'm still human. And that's a good thing. So yeah. So Jesus in John's Gospel is the light. The light shines in the darkness. Notice that. It's in the darkness that the light shines. You know, it's not just, hey, there's a cool light happening, you know, in the daylight. No, it's actually we see the light when we're in the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to that to unpack.
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense, kind of darkness, whatever we take that to mean, is normal. It's the way things are. It's where we are in a sense. But Jesus comes into that darkness and shines the light. And when I think of Minneapolis right now, you know, I think of the darkness there and the light that's being shown in that space so beautifully, or the light of the monks walking so beautifully. They're walking through, in a sense, what could be called the darkness. You know, a society right now that is in serious darkness, and they're shining the light, you know, which is so beautiful. I mean, it makes me tear up to imagine it, without really any words, just by being who they are. And just by the Minneapolis people being who they are. I mean, it's so beautiful to hear them speak, you know, and they speak about what they're doing and paying each other's rent and protecting families from ICE, you know. And it's like, my God, I'm proud to be a human being again.
Yeah.
It's been a while. But it really does make me glad to be a human being. And the example of these people is just so Christ-like. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you tonight. Any other closing thoughts before we sing the closing song?
Like the idea, the word salvation, if you look up the very roots, and not the religious meaning that's been given to it, but it means to make safe from harm, and to save in that sense of remove from harm. And the root also comes forward as the word salve, to soothe, a balm. And to me, I can picture that with Jesus as a presence, that kind of soothing salvation, you know. And anyway, it just works for me.
Yeah. Well, it worked for him too.
Yeah.
Again, he was the one who said his mission was very clear. It's to heal the broken heart.
Yeah.
To mend those lives that are broken. That's balm.
Yeah.
Salve. Yeah. So we'll close with a song, but before we do, I just want to give you background to the song. Again, thinking about great joy being linked to deep suffering. When I was living in Washington, D.C. many years ago, I became friends with a group of men who were formerly on the streets of Washington, D.C. Most of them were African American men, and so we became friends. Yes, we did. And they inspired me. See, this is why it's so important to hang out with people who are different. Otherwise, you don't get inspired. Okay. We really need people that are different in many ways from us to open us up, to break our hearts open. And that's what happened in D.C. And these lovely men, whom I'm ashamed to say I was embarrassed to shake hands with at one point in my life, because they offered me their friendship. it broke down walls of resistance in me to the poor, and particularly the poor in the streets of Washington, D.C. And so, at a certain point, not only did I want to shake hands to them, but I needed to shake hands with them. And we became us. We became friends to this day. And while there, I would sing with them every Tuesday night in a choir situation. This song came that has a kind of black gospel feel to it. You had to go there, didn't you? You weren't content with this lovely toy. Look at this. No, not to go. You can't do it. And anyway, these fellas became friends, and we sang this song together. And it's called Walk, Children, Walk. It's a good one for Walk for Peace. And I'm sure we'll end up singing it as we walk through the forest here with the donkeys. And so the words are walk, children, walk. Children, walk. I can't remember the next line. In justice and live in the city of Shalom. I think that's it. So walk, children, walk. Children, walk in justice and live in the city of Shalom. And that's the song. We'll sing it in just a second. But the beauty of that song is that it traveled. We sang it walking down Pennsylvania Avenue with like 50,000 people. After the United States invaded Iraq and destroyed that country, basically. We sang protest, walk, children, walk. And it was just so good to sing it. And then it traveled over to Palestine. And while I was there in a girls' high school, these sweet girls who were prevented from walking in Jerusalem because they were Palestinians, because of the occupation and so on, they sang it. Oh, and you should have heard them sing it. These young women, basically, who now are the leaders of society, and my God, I don't know. I mean, some of them may have been killed in the interim. But they sang this song. And when they did, again, tears welled up in me and others that were there, because out of their great suffering, they were singing with hope and joy, commitment. We will be free. We will walk in Jerusalem, the city of peace, the city of Shalom. You're a funk. So let's sing that song and see where it goes. We're in the up, kid. Walk, children, walk. Children, walk in justice and live in the city of Shalom. Walk, children, walk. Children, walk in justice and live in the city of Shalom. Walk, children, walk. Children, walk in justice and live in the city of Shalom. Walk, children, walk. Children, walk in of this day, we pray for peace, for justice, for healing, for health, for the kind of joy that rises from deep suffering. May we be part of that. That risen Christ, active in the world, may we jump on board that peace train. May it be so.